Hello and welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Let me ask you something. It's a simple question, but stick with me. Do you want to be successful? I'm pretty sure you just nodded to yourself. Of course you do. We all do. But here's where it gets interesting. If I follow up with, okay, what does success actually mean to you? That's where the answers start to spread out in every direction. For some people, success is a big bank account. For others, it's status and power and a corner office. For still others, it's a happy marriage, kids who grow up well, a life that feels meaningful. And here's the problem that sits underneath so much frustration and burnout and midlife crisis. Most of us chase success without ever stopping to define what it is. We just run. We climb a ladder as fast as we possibly can, pouring years of our lives into it, only to reach the top and realize something devastating: the ladder has been leaning against the wrong wall this whole time. Today, I want to walk you through a book that helps you find the right wall before you start climbing. A book that has sold more than 40 million copies worldwide. Translated into more than 50 languages. Used as core training material by over 90% of Fortune 100 companies. Presidents have read it. CEOs swear by it. Parents, teachers, coaches, and leaders in every field have built their lives and careers on its principles. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, by Stephen Covey. So who was Stephen Covey? And how did a university professor from Utah end up writing one of the most influential business and personal development books of all time? Covey was born in 1932 in Salt Lake City, Utah. He grew up in a devoutly religious family, went on to earn an MBA from Harvard and a doctorate in religious education from Brigham Young University. He spent decades teaching at BYU, raising 9 children with his wife Sandra, and quietly studying something that obsessed him: what actually makes people effective, not just at work, but in life. He doesn't exactly sound like the typical origin story of a global business guru, does he? No flashy startup. No Wall Street pedigree. And yet, that very background, the academic rigor, the spiritual depth, the decades of teaching and observing, is what gave Covey a radically different perspective on success. Here's what happened. Back in the 1970s and 1980s, America was absolutely flooded with success literature. Walk into any bookstore and you'd find hundreds of titles promising to unlock your potential. But Covey noticed something that bothered him deeply: almost all of these books taught what he called surface-level techniques. How to dress for success. How to speak with confidence. How to make a powerful first impression. Quick tips. Social hacks. Covey called this the personality ethic. And he believed, with every fiber of his being, that it was not sustainable. It was a shortcut. A patch. It might work for a while, but it would never produce lasting, authentic effectiveness. So he went back. Back through 200 years of American success literature, from Benjamin Franklin's writings in the 1700s all the way to the self-help boom of the late 20th century. And what he discovered changed everything for him. The first 150 years, roughly from 1776 to the 1920s, were overwhelmingly focused on what he called the character ethic. Principles. Integrity. Humility. Courage. Patience. Justice. The golden rule. Things that have existed for thousands of years, in every culture, in every spiritual tradition, on every continent. And then, sometime around the 1920s, the literature shifted. It became about techniques. Tricks. Hacks. Image. Covey realized the world had traded depth for speed, character for charisma. And he set out to bring the balance back. The result of that decades-long research was the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, published in 1989. This book doesn't teach you tricks. It doesn't promise overnight transformation. What it does, and this is why it's still relevant 35 years later, is teach you how to change from the inside out. It builds your character, your core, your foundation. And from that foundation, everything else grows naturally. Covey passed away in 2012 after a cycling accident, at the age of 79. He was still teaching, still writing, still pushing people to grow, right up to the end. His legacy isn't just a best-selling book. It's millions of transformed lives. Before I walk you through the 7 habits one by one, I need to set the stage. Because if you don't understand the architecture underneath, the habits will just seem like a random list. And they're anything but random. Covey says that human maturity unfolds in 3 distinct stages. Think of them like chapters in your growth as a person. The first stage is dependence. You rely on others to survive. You need other people to feed you, protect you, make decisions for you. This is where we all start, as infants, as children. It's natural, but it's not where you want to stay. The second stage is independence. You can take care of yourself. You have your own opinions. You make your own decisions. You carry your own responsibilities. Financially, emotionally, intellectually. This is what society typically celebrates, right? Be self-reliant. Stand on your own 2 feet. Don't need anyone. And there's real value in this stage, it's a necessary step. But here's the twist, and this is where Covey departs from most self-help advice. He says independence is not the peak. It's not the destination. The peak, the highest stage of human maturity, is the third one, interdependence. Interdependence means you can take care of yourself, and you can also collaborate with others to achieve things far beyond what you could ever do alone. You're strong enough to stand on your own, but wise enough to know you don't have to. The greatest achievements in human history, every company, every movement, every scientific breakthrough, every lasting marriage, they all happen through interdependence. Nobody builds a cathedral alone. And here's the elegant structure of the book, the 7 habits are mapped exactly onto this journey. Habits 1, 2, and 3 take you from dependence to independence. Covey calls this the private victory. It's the inner work. Mastering yourself before you try to work with others. Habits 4, 5, and 6 take you from independence to interdependence. He calls this the public victory. It's the outer work. Building powerful, effective relationships. And habit 7 wraps around everything else. It's the habit of renewal, the habit that keeps all the other habits alive and growing. Think of it like building a house. Habits 1 through 3 are the foundation. You can't see them from the street, but without them, nothing else stands. Habits 4 through 6 are the walls and the roof, the parts everyone sees. And habit 7 is the ongoing maintenance. The care. The upkeep. Without it, even the best house eventually crumbles. Now, before I go any deeper into the habits themselves, I want to share a fable that Covey uses as the philosophical foundation for the entire book. This is, honestly, the single most important metaphor in all 400+ pages. If you forget everything else from this episode, remember this story. There was once a poor farmer. One morning, he went out to his barn and discovered, to his absolute shock, that his goose had laid an egg made of solid gold. He couldn't believe his eyes. He picked it up. He weighed it in his hands. He took it to town and had it tested. It was real. Pure gold. The next morning, the goose laid another golden egg. And the next morning, another. And the next. Every single day, without fail, one perfect golden egg. The farmer became rich. He built a new house. He bought new land. He became the wealthiest man in the region. But as his wealth grew, so did something else, his greed. He started getting impatient. One egg a day. That's it. He wanted more. Faster. The goose was producing gold, but not fast enough for his appetite. So one day, in a moment of blind greed, the farmer made a decision. He took a knife and cut the goose open, thinking he'd find all the gold inside and take it out at once. He found nothing. Just the insides of a dead goose. No gold. No more eggs. The goose was dead, and with it, the source of all his wealth was gone forever. Covey uses this fable to introduce the P/PC balance principle. P stands for production, the golden eggs. These are the results you want. The outcomes. The achievements. PC stands for production capability, the goose itself. The thing that produces the results. Your ability to keep producing. Here's the hard truth, most of us are obsessed with P. We want more golden eggs. Higher revenue. Bigger profits. More output. Faster deadlines. And in our obsession, we forget the goose. We drain our health. We neglect our spouse and children. We burn out our best employees. We squeeze every last drop out of our resources. And then one day, the goose dies. And with it, all future golden eggs. This principle applies everywhere. In business, you can push your team to work brutal overtime for a short-term revenue spike. But if they burn out and quit, you've destroyed your production capability. Good luck hitting next quarter's targets with half your team gone. In marriage, you can constantly demand love and attention and support from your partner while giving nothing back. But relationships aren't infinite wells. Eventually, the well runs dry. In your own health, you can pull all-nighters, live on caffeine, and grind yourself to the bone. But if your body collapses at 45, all that money you earned won't matter very much. The effective person, the truly effective person, is someone who maintains a careful, deliberate balance between P and PC. They harvest golden eggs, yes. But they also feed the goose. They rest the goose. They protect the goose. They understand, at a deep level, that true effectiveness isn't about how many eggs you collect today. It's about whether the goose is still healthy enough to keep laying eggs tomorrow, next month, next year, and for decades to come. Alright. Now we step into the habits themselves. Habit 1, be proactive. This is the habit that everything else builds on. And it's also the most misunderstood one. Being proactive does not mean being energetic, outgoing, busy, or always taking initiative. That's the dictionary definition. Covey means something much deeper. Proactive, in Covey's language, means, you take radical responsibility for your own life. You stop blaming your circumstances, your boss, your childhood, the economy, your genetics. You accept, fully, that between whatever happens to you and your response to it, there is a space. A gap. And in that gap lies your freedom. Covey introduces a brilliant framework to explain this, the circle of influence and the circle of concern. Your circle of concern contains everything you care about, the weather, politics, housing prices, what your in-laws think of you, the state of the world. Your circle of influence is much smaller. It contains only the things you can actually affect. Reactive people, and this is most people, most of the time, pour all their energy into their circle of concern. They worry. They complain. They argue. Why is my boss so unreasonable? Why is traffic always terrible? Why did this have to happen to me? And here's the tragic consequence, as they focus on what they can't control, the things they can control, their attitude, their effort, their skill development, their responses, get neglected. Their circle of influence actually shrinks. They become more helpless, not less. Proactive people do the opposite. They focus their energy, all of it, on what they can control. Their response. Their effort. Their learning. Their preparation. And remarkably, as they do this, their circle of influence expands. They become more capable, more trusted, more effective. The things they can influence grow wider and wider. Covey quotes Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist who survived Nazi concentration camps and wrote Man's Search for Meaning. Frankl said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. That space is the birthplace of proactivity." Habit 2, begin with the end in mind. Covey opens this chapter with an exercise that stops people in their tracks. He asks you to imagine, vividly, that you're attending your own funeral. You're sitting in the back. You're watching. You're listening. One by one, people stand up to speak. Your children. Your spouse or partner. Your closest friends. Your colleagues. What do you want them to say about you? What kind of person do you want them to describe? It's a heavy exercise. Maybe even uncomfortable. But it works because it cuts through all the noise. It forces you to confront what actually matters, not what feels urgent this week, but what matters at the very end of the story. Most of us live our lives on autopilot. We follow a script that society handed us: go to school, get a degree, find a job, climb the ladder, buy a house, retire, done. And we rarely stop to ask the most basic question: is this script actually mine? Or did someone else write it? Am I living my life, or someone else's idea of what my life should be? Beginning with the end in mind means you become the author of your own script. You define, clearly, intentionally, what matters most to you. What your values are. What kind of person you want to become. Covey calls this a personal mission statement. It doesn't have to be long or poetic. It just has to be yours. And every decision you make, from big career moves to how you spend your Tuesday evening, gets measured against one question: does this bring me closer to the person I want to be? And Covey introduces a concept here that I think is just brilliant: all things are created twice. Everything. Without exception. The first creation happens in the mind, the mental creation. The blueprint. The vision. The second creation happens in the physical world, the actual building, the execution, the reality. Think about a house. Months before construction begins, an architect is drawing plans. Every room. Every window. Every electrical outlet. Every pipe. The entire house exists in the mind and on paper before a single brick is laid. That's the first creation. Then the builders bring it into the physical world. That's the second creation. Here's the key: Covey says the first creation is leadership. The second creation is management. Leadership asks, is the ladder leaning against the right wall? Management asks, how do I climb this ladder as fast and efficiently as possible? And the bitter irony is that most of us are world-class managers and terrible leaders. We're brilliant at climbing ladders. We're obsessed with climbing faster. But we rarely, if ever, stop to look up and check what wall the ladder is leaning against. Habit 2 is that pause. It's the leadership moment. It's the first creation. You must have a vivid, compelling picture of your destination before you start walking. Otherwise, you'll walk very fast, and very confidently, in exactly the wrong direction. Habit 3, put first things first. So habit 1 says, you are the creator of your life. Take responsibility. Habit 2 says, here's your vision. Here's where you're headed. Habit 3 is where the rubber meets the road. It says, now execute that vision. Every day. One choice at a time. Covey introduces what is probably his most famous practical tool, the time management matrix. He divides everything you do into 4 quadrants, based on 2 simple criteria: is it important? And is it urgent? Quadrant 1 is urgent and important. Crises. A burning building. A deadline that's tomorrow and you haven't started. A medical emergency. These things demand your attention. You can't ignore them. But if your life is lived entirely in Quadrant 1, you will burn out. And fast. Quadrant 3 is urgent but not important. The phone ringing. Notifications pinging. A colleague who needs something right now, but it's not actually important to your goals. This is the quadrant of other people's priorities. And it's sneaky because it feels productive. You're responding. You're busy. But you're not moving the needle on anything that matters. Quadrant 4 is neither urgent nor important. Endless scrolling. Mindless TV. Trivial busy work. This is the quadrant of escape and pure time waste. We all visit it. The danger is living there. And then Quadrant 2, the quadrant that separates truly effective people from everyone else, important but not urgent. Planning. Prevention. Relationship building. Skill development. Exercise. Deep reading. Strategic thinking. These activities have no screaming deadline. Nobody is standing over your shoulder demanding them. They whisper. They don't shout. And because they don't shout, they're the easiest things to postpone. But here's the brutal truth: Quadrant 2 activities are what determine the entire trajectory of your life. The time you invest in Quadrant 2 today determines what your Quadrant 1 will look like 5 years from now. If you invest in your health now, you prevent the health crisis later. If you invest in your relationships now, you prevent the divorce later. If you invest in planning now, you prevent the chaotic scramble later. Effective people live in Quadrant 2. They don't wait for things to become emergencies. They proactively invest in what's important while there's still time. They put first things first, not urgent things first, not loud things first, but important things first. Before I dive into the 3 relationship habits, I need to introduce a concept that sits underneath all of them. Think of it as the foundation for habits 4, 5, and 6. Covey calls it the emotional bank account. The idea is beautifully simple and immediately useful. Every single relationship you have, with your partner, your kids, your parents, your coworkers, your friends, has an invisible, metaphorical bank account attached to it. Every interaction either makes a deposit or a withdrawal. When the balance is high, the relationship can absorb a lot. Mistakes happen. Misunderstandings happen. But the trust reserve is deep enough to handle them. When the balance is low, or worse, overdrawn, everything becomes fragile. A single careless comment can cause a collapse. So what builds the balance? Covey identifies 6 kinds of deposits. First, understand the individual. What counts as a deposit for you might not count for them. You might think a dozen roses is the ultimate romantic gesture, but maybe your partner would feel more loved if you just handled the dishes without being asked. You have to learn what the other person actually values, not project your own preferences onto them. Second, attend to the little things. A birthday remembered. A text just to check in. A genuine thank you. A hug before you walk out the door. These things cost almost nothing, but over years, they compound into enormous emotional wealth. Third, keep commitments. Every promise you keep is a significant deposit. Every promise you break is a massive withdrawal. And here's the practical takeaway: don't make promises you aren't sure you can keep. Under-promise. Over-deliver. It's that simple. Fourth, clarify expectations. So much relationship pain comes from assumptions that were never spoken aloud. You expect one thing. The other person expects something completely different. Neither of you says anything. And when reality doesn't match the expectation that was never communicated, both sides feel hurt and betrayed. Fifth, show personal integrity, and Covey adds a subtle but profound nuance here. Integrity means being loyal to those who are not present. Think about this. When you gossip about someone behind their back, the person listening absorbs a message: when I'm not here, this person probably talks about me the same way. But when you defend someone who isn't in the room, when you speak well of them, you make a deposit with the person who is listening. They learn they can trust you. Sixth, apologize sincerely when you make a withdrawal. Not the cowardly, "I'm sorry if you were offended." A real apology. One that names the specific mistake without deflection. One that acknowledges the impact. And one that's followed by changed behavior. A genuine apology can flip a withdrawal into a deposit. This emotional bank account is the soil in which habits 4, 5, and 6 grow. You cannot think win-win with someone whose account is deep in the red. You cannot listen empathically without a baseline of trust. You cannot achieve synergy when the relationship is polluted with unresolved wounds. Every single public victory habit depends on a healthy, positive emotional balance. So with that foundation in place, let's step into the 3 relationship habits. Habit 4, think win-win. Most of us are raised on competition. In school, only one student can rank first. In sports, only one team takes the trophy. In the workplace, only one person gets the promotion. We absorb a deep, often unconscious belief: for me to win, someone else has to lose. Life is a zero-sum game. Covey says, that's a lie, or at least, it's a dangerously limited perspective. In the vast majority of human relationships, especially in business, in family, in community, there doesn't have to be a loser. There is a third option. Win-win. Both sides walk away better off. Both sides benefit. Both sides grow. Now, let me be clear about what win-win is not. It is not being a doormat. It is not sacrificing your own interests to make someone else happy. That's lose-win, and Covey says it's just as unsustainable as win-lose. It just generates resentment more slowly. True win-win means you're creative enough, patient enough, and committed enough to find solutions where everyone genuinely benefits. And here's the engine that powers win-win thinking, what Covey calls the abundance mentality. Its opposite is the scarcity mentality. A person with a scarcity mentality sees the world as a pie of fixed size. If you get a bigger slice, my slice gets smaller. Your success threatens me. I can't celebrate your wins because I'm busy guarding my own. I hoard information. I keep credit to myself. I see colleagues not as partners but as rivals. And over time, this mentality isolates me. People stop wanting to work with me. My world actually shrinks. A person with an abundance mentality believes there is enough for everyone. Your success doesn't diminish my opportunities, if anything, it expands them. I can celebrate your wins. I can share credit, share knowledge, share opportunities, because I know that a rising tide lifts all boats. I don't need to be the smartest person in the room. I want a room full of smart people, because that makes the whole room better, including me. And there's one more concept I need to highlight, because it's brilliant and underused: win-win or no deal. Sometimes the healthiest outcome is to walk away. If you've genuinely tried to find a solution where both sides win, and you can't, then no deal is not a failure. It's a mature, honest, relationship-preserving choice. It's far better than forcing a deal where one side feels cheated and resentment festers for years. Habit 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Covey considers this the hardest habit to master, and the most transformative for relationships. Here's why it's hard. When someone comes to you with a problem, what's your first instinct? If you're honest with yourself, it's probably one of these: you start formulating your response while they're still talking. You probe with questions that are really just disguised advice. You jump in with your own similar experience. "Oh, I know exactly how you feel, the same thing happened to me. Let me tell you about it." Or worse, you immediately prescribe a solution they didn't ask for. That's not listening. That's waiting for your turn to speak. And we all do it. Every day. In conversations with partners, kids, coworkers, friends. We hear words, but we don't actually hear people. Covey teaches empathic listening. This is listening with the sole intent of understanding. Not to reply. Not to solve. Not to impress. Just to understand, to see the world, even for a moment, through the other person's eyes. You listen not just with your ears, but with your eyes watching their face, your heart sensing their emotion. You reflect back what you're hearing, not to agree, not to disagree, but to confirm, "I'm hearing that you feel." That's it. That's the skill. Simple. And incredibly hard. Covey says something that has stayed with me for years. He says, the greatest need of the human heart is to be understood. When you truly understand someone, when you give them the gift of being fully heard, you are giving them what he calls psychological air. They can finally breathe. And once someone feels understood, once they have that air, they become dramatically more open to understanding you in return. Habit 6, Synergize. This is the habit where everything comes together. Where all the previous habits, the private victories of self-mastery and the public victories of relationship building, combine into something greater than their sum. Synergy means, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. 1 plus 1 doesn't equal 2. It equals 3, or 10, or 1,000. Here's the simplest example I can give you. Two people face a problem. They have completely different backgrounds, different experiences, different ways of thinking. The old approach, the win-lose approach, would be for them to argue about whose view is right. One wins, one loses. And everyone loses something. The new approach, the synergistic approach, is for them to genuinely listen to each other. To respect the differences instead of fighting them. To put all their cards on the table and say, together, let's create something neither of us could have created alone. Covey describes 3 levels of communication that people move through on the way to synergy. Level 1 is defensive communication. People enter with their guard up. They're protecting their ego, their position, their sense of being right. They listen only to find weaknesses in the other person's argument. This is the communication of debate clubs, political talking heads, and most marital arguments. The result, 1 plus 1 equals less than 2. Energy is wasted. Trust is damaged. Level 2 is respectful communication. People are polite. They listen. They acknowledge that the other person has a valid perspective. But they're still attached to their own view. They're willing to compromise, to meet in the middle, but they're not truly open to being changed by the conversation. This is mature, civilized communication. It avoids damage. But it also avoids breakthroughs. The result, 1 plus 1 equals 2. Good. Not great. Level 3 is synergistic communication. People show up fully. They bring their best thinking, their most honest perspectives. But they don't cling to them. They put their ideas on the table as offerings, not as fortresses to be defended. They listen so deeply to one another that their own thinking actually shifts and expands in real time. And out of that space, that creative, vulnerable, open space, emerges something entirely new. A third alternative that no one person brought into the room. The result, 1 + 1 = 3, or 10, or a revolution. Covey illustrates this with a story from his own teaching career. He once had a student in a leadership course who was, in his words, very difficult. The student constantly asked provocative questions. He challenged every assumption. He slowed the class down. He annoyed everyone, including Covey. But instead of shutting him down or ignoring him, the class made a choice. They decided to listen. Genuinely. Not to tolerate him, but to understand him. And when they did, everything shifted. Behind the challenging questions was a razor-sharp mind and a perspective the class had been completely missing. The student wasn't a problem. He was a gift the class hadn't been ready to receive. Once they embraced his perspective, the discussions became deeper than anything they'd experienced. Ideas emerged that would have been impossible without him. The class didn't just learn about leadership. They lived it. That difficult student became the catalyst for the entire group's breakthrough. This is the connection between habits 4, 5, and 6. You need the win-win mindset from habit 4, the genuine belief that a solution exists that benefits everyone. You need empathic listening from habit 5, the ability to truly understand someone before trying to convince them. And when you bring those two together, you get synergy. Courage to speak your truth. And courage to be changed by someone else's. We've arrived at habit 7, sharpen the saw. And Covey opens this chapter with a fable that, I have to admit, hits a little too close to home. There's a man in the forest, sawing down a tree. He's been at it for 5 hours. Sweat is pouring down his face. His arms ache. The saw blade is dull, catching on every stroke. The tree still hasn't fallen. A passerby watches for a moment and says, "Why don't you stop and sharpen your saw? You'd cut through that tree in half the time." The man barely looks up. "I can't stop," he says, gasping. "I'm too busy sawing." That's us. That is so painfully us. We're so consumed by the doing that we have no time for the being. So busy that we can't slow down enough to get less busy. 12-hour days. Back-to-back meetings. Late nights. And then we wonder why we're exhausted, why our creativity is gone, why our relationships feel thin. Sharpening the saw means you deliberately, regularly invest in yourself, in 4 dimensions. Covey calls them the 4 dimensions of renewal. The physical dimension, exercise, nutrition, sleep. Your body is the engine. If it breaks down, everything stops. Covey recommends at least 30 minutes of exercise 3 times a week, but the deeper point is about energy. Are you physically capable of showing up fully for your life? Or are you crashing at 2 p.m. every day? The spiritual dimension, your core. Your center. Your connection to meaning and purpose. For some, this is religion. For others, it's meditation, or time in nature, or music, or service. The form doesn't matter. What matters is whether you're regularly reconnecting with the deepest part of yourself, the part that knows why you're here. The mental dimension, learning, reading, writing, thinking. Not just passively consuming information, but actively engaging with ideas. Covey strongly recommends writing, journaling, planning, capturing your thoughts. Writing forces clarity. It surfaces what you actually think, as opposed to what you think. He also recommends reading at least 1 substantial book per month. But selectively, not every book deserves your time. Read books that stretch you, challenge your assumptions, and expand your world. The social-emotional dimension, your relationships. This is where habits 4, 5, and 6 loop back in. You sharpen this dimension by practicing win-win thinking in real conversations, by listening empathically to the people in your life, by seeking synergy instead of just compromise. Every interaction is a chance to make a deposit. Every conflict is a training ground for growth. And at the end of this chapter, Covey introduces a concept that I find genuinely beautiful. He calls it the upward spiral. Sharpening the saw isn't a flat circle you go around and around. It's a spiral staircase. Every time you cycle through the 7 habits, from 1 to 7 and back again, you don't land where you started. You land one floor up. You understand more deeply. You practice more naturally. The principles that once required enormous effort start to feel like second nature. And from that higher vantage point, you see new possibilities you couldn't see before. Then you climb again. Learning, growing, becoming, a lifelong upward spiral. You cannot cut down a tree with a dull saw. And you cannot build a meaningful life with an exhausted body, a neglected spirit, and a mind that stopped learning years ago. Sharpen the saw isn't a luxury. It's the habit that makes all the other habits possible. Before we close, I want to answer a question I get asked a lot. With thousands of self-help and business books published every year, why does this one, a book from 1989, still matter? What makes it different? I think there are 3 reasons. First, it's built on principles, not techniques. Covey doesn't give you 10 hacks to manipulate your way to a promotion. He gives you principles that have lasted thousands of years. Integrity, humility, courage, fairness, patience. These principles don't expire. They don't care what industry you're in or what country you live in. They just work. Second, it's a system, not a list. The 7 habits aren't 7 random ideas you can pick and choose from. They're sequenced. They build on each other. You can't sustainably practice habits 4, 5, and 6 without the self-mastery of habits 1, 2, and 3. People who try to fake win-win without doing the inner work, it shows. It feels hollow. And you can't maintain any of the 7 without habit 7's renewal. This is an integrated operating system for life, not a menu. And third, this is what matters most to me personally. It demands transformation from the inside out. No shortcuts. No pretending. Covey never promises quick results. He says up front, this is a journey, maybe a lifelong one. You can't fake proactivity. You can't perform listening. You can't install synergy like a software update. These habits either become part of who you are, or they don't work at all. So let me leave you with the 3 biggest lessons I've taken from this book. Lesson 1, change starts within. You will never transform your circumstances by rearranging the outside world while leaving yourself untouched. The first 3 habits are not optional preparation. They are the work. Master yourself, and everything outside yourself becomes easier. Lesson 2, busy is not the same as effective. Our culture worships busyness. Packed calendars. Overflowing inboxes. But you can be frantically busy your entire life and never move an inch closer to what truly matters. The question isn't, how much did I do today? The question is, did I do what matters most? Lesson 3, relationships are the real wealth. You can be the most talented, brilliant, hardworking person on the planet. Alone, you can only climb so high. The mountaintop achievements, in business, in science, in art, in family, they all require other people. And to earn genuine partnership, you need trust. You need integrity. You need to listen. The quality of your relationships will determine the ceiling of your impact. Stephen Covey died in July 2012 after a cycling accident in Idaho. He was 79 years old. He had spent his final decades teaching these principles to heads of state, to CEOs, to students, to parents, to anyone who wanted to live more intentionally. He was working on his next book when he died. There's a line of his that I think captures the soul of his entire body of work. He said, "I am not a product of my circumstances. I am a product of my decisions." That's it. That's the book in one sentence. You are not a victim of your past, your boss, your economy, your luck. You are the author. The first creator. The one holding the pen. The book is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey, first published by Free Press in 1989. It's available in dozens of languages and editions worldwide. What I've shared here is just the doorway. The book itself is much richer, much deeper, with exercises and stories that could genuinely change the way you see your life. I can't recommend it enough. This episode is my personal interpretation and summary of the book's core ideas. My hope is that it sparks your curiosity enough to pick up the book and experience it for yourself. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. It means a lot. And before you go to sleep tonight, try Covey's exercise, just for a minute. Ask yourself, if tomorrow were the last day of your life, would you be satisfied with how you live today? And if the answer is no, what's one small thing you could do differently tomorrow? Take care. I'll see you in the next one.